lands, master of Libya, Egypt, Arabia, Ethiopia, Babylonia, Chaldea, Phoenicia, Elam, Syria, Assyria, and the nations of Palestine. Ruler of Ionia, Lydia, Phrygia, Armenia, Cilicia, Cappadocia, Thrace, Macedonia, and the Transcaucasus, Cyprus, Rhodes, Samos, Chios, Lesbos, and the islands of the Aegean. Sovereign lord of Parthia, Bactria, Caspia, Susiana, Paphlagonia, and India. Lord of all men from the rising to the setting sun, his most holy, reverend, and exalted, invincible, incorruptible, blessed of God, Ahura Mazda, and omnipotent among mortals. Thus decreeth his magnificence, as recorded by Gobartes, the son of Artabazus, his historian, that following the glorious victory of his Majesty's forces over the arrayed Peloponnesian foe, Spartans and allies, at the pass of Thermopylae, having extinguished the enemy to the last man and erected trophies to this valorous conquest, yet was his Majesty in his God-inspired wisdom desirous of further intelligence, both of certain infantry tactics employed by the enemy, which proved of some effect against his Majesty's troops, and of the type of foemen these were, who, though unbound by liege law or servitude, facing insuperable odds and certain death, yet chose to remain at their stations, and perished therein to the final man. His Majesty's regret having been expressed at the dearth of knowledge and insight upon these subjects, then did intercede God Ahura Mazda on his Majesty's behalf. A survivor of the Hellenes, as the Greeks call themselves, was discovered, grievously wounded, and in a state of extremis, beneath the wheels of a battle-wagon, being unseen theretofore due to the presence of numerous corpses of men, horses, and beasts of transport being heaped upon the site. His Majesty's surgeons being summoned and charged under pain of death, to spare no measure to preserve the captive's life, God yet granted his Majesty's desire. The Greek survived the night and the morning following. Within 10 days the man had recovered speech and mental faculty, and, though yet confined to a litter and under direct care of the royal surgeon, was able not only at last to speak, but to express his fervent desire to do so. Several unorthodox aspects of the captive's armor and raiment were noted by the detaining officers. Beneath the man's battle helmet was found not the traditional felt caul of the Spartan hoplite, but the dogskin cap associated with the race of Helots, the Lacedaemonian slave class, serfs of the land. In contrast, inexplicable to his Majesty's officers, the prisoner's shield and armor were of the finest bronze, etched with rare Hibernian cobalt, while his helmet bore the transverse crest of a full Spartiate, an officer. In preliminary interviews, the man's manner of speech proved to be a compound of the loftiest philosophical and literary language, indicative of a deep familiarity with the epics of the Hellenes, intermingled with the coarsest and most crude gutter argot, much of which was uninterpretable even to his Majesty's most knowledgeable translators. The Greek, however, willingly agreed to translate these himself, which he did, utilizing scraps of profane Aramaic and Persian which he claimed to have acquired during certain sea travels beyond Hellas. I, his Majesty's historian, seeking to preserve his Majesty's ears from the foul and often execrable language employed by the captive, sought to excise the offensive material before his Majesty was forced to endure hearing it. Yet did his Majesty in his God-inspired wisdom instruct his servant so as to translate the man's speech, as to render it in whatever tongue and idiom necessary to duplicate the precise effect in Greek. This have I attempted to do. I pray that his Majesty recall the charge he imparted, and hold his servant blameless for those portions of the following transcription which will and must offend any civilized hearer. Inscribed and submitted this 16th day of Ululu, 5th year of his Majesty's accession. Chapter 1. 3rd day of Tashritu, 5th year of his Majesty's accession, south of the Locrian border, the army of the empire having continued its advance unopposed into central Greece, establishing an encampment opposite the easter fall of Mount Parnassus,